Gypsies have, for centuries, been branded as outsiders. Wherever they've travelled, people hated and envied them. Gypsies have refused to conform to other people's values. They've remained separate, different. Who they are and where they came from has stayed a closely guarded secret amongst the Gypsies themselves for generations. In Britain today, they're a mixture of travellers, tinkers and Romanys. Romanys are the original Gypsies. They arrived in Europe by the early 12th century with their tribal trades, language and customs. There aren't many Romanys left in Britain now. They've intermarried and lost many of the links with their past. But there are some 10 million Gypsies around the world, and to find out who they are and where they came from, we took the Romany Trail, which led us back through every country of Europe. It took us through North Africa and Asia and into India, their original homeland. We discovered tribes of Gypsies still travelling in northwest India. While others migrated around the world, these nomadic people have hardly changed over centuries. They pitch their homes where need or fancy takes them. Many are low caste or untouchables who can find no other place in Indian society. This is the birthplace of the culture that Gypsies have preserved in secret in every country where they've since settled. Their ritual washing and cleanliness is based in Hindu custom. The Hindu religion is also at the heart of Gypsy superstitions. The goddess Kali travelled with them and is still alive in their myths and legends today. The Romany language is based in the Hindi dialects of North India. It's still spoken by Gypsies everywhere. Having no written history, music and song have kept their culture alive. Wherever they travel and whatever they do, music has a special place in the life of Gypsies. There are two sorts of Gypsy music, a public sort, where they perform for money, and a very different private sort, never seen by outsiders, like their puppet shows, a family tradition handed down from father to child. Among themselves, they love to send up the pretensions of the society they live outside, like the rich ladies of Rajasthan. After making fun of the Maharaja of Jodhpur, they go and entertain him in his palace. From the Maharaja's palaces, the gypsy entertainers travelled north. The Persian poet Ferdowsi described how almost 1,000 years ago, a prince of the Sasint dynasty brought gypsy musicians from India to entertain him in the Persian courts. There were more migrations out of India in search of work or to escape the many famines, wars, and hardships. Over centuries, they travelled north through Afghanistan and Persia. Living as nomads, they still preserved their language and music. Their ways divided. Some tribes moved up into Europe, others branched off through the Holy Lands and down to Egypt. We followed the Romany trail, which took us down the River Nile in search of the gypsies of Egypt. For centuries, they've remained undiscovered, unknown to the Egyptians themselves. But on the banks of the Nile, near the town of Luxor, we found them, living beside the temples that the pharaohs built for the sun god Amun-Ra. They live on the outskirts of town, as gypsies do everywhere. The story of their unique migration has been passed by word of mouth from father to son. Joseph Mazen is head of the gypsy tribe in Luxor and is the keeper of his people's history.
القبيلة من كردستان. القبيلة بتاعتنا جات من كردستان.
Our tribe originally came from Kurdistan. Its name was Nawar al-Hamamsha, and it was called Nawar because of its founder's name. Nawar is the name that applies to all our people here. From Kurdistan, we descended to Egypt many generations ago, having been cast out of our homelands because of our evil deeds and bad reputation. For in truth, we would steal and plunder, and some of us were highway robbers too. We lived outside society, and we kept alive our own traditions and our own language. But we were punished and driven out of Kurdistan and Iran, where our forefathers were born. In the beginning, we took after our ancestors, but we had to pay for that, as the people were against us. In order to settle in Luxor, we encouraged our daughters to dance and our sons to become musicians, so that would become accepted by the locals. And we invaded their hearts and their minds by our arts.
Khairia is one of the 3 daughters of Joseph Mazen, who became a dancer. Being from the tribe of Nawar, or Gypsy, she's an outsider from her community. The youngest daughter is Radia, with whom respectable people don't want to be seen walking, let alone talking. The oldest of the 3 is Soad Mazen. Refused a place in polite society, Soad became the local prostitute. To try and gain some semblance of respectability, she and her sisters became professional dancers.
The only time I wish I wasn't a dancer is when a man of another tribe falls in love with me or one of my sisters. His family would fight a war to stop him marrying a Ghaziya, a girl of bad reputation. His family would say, "How can you do such a thing to us? How could you marry a daughter of Mazen, a dancer and a singer, a girl who performs in front of others, and from the tribe of Nawar?" Then such a marriage becomes impossible. That's what hurts and makes me sometimes wish I wasn't a dancer. They call us by the name Ghaziya. To them, it's a dirty word, but to us it means that we invade their hearts with our dance and in any other way they want.
كنت عايزة بريئة ولا واحدة منكم تسرح لي وسرحنا. أيوة. ونسحب بعض بدون ما حد يشعر وبنتغلب.
We don't care what they say about us because at the end of the day we give them their money's worth and they get what they are after.
وبطريقتنا احنا الخاصة بنتغلب على كل ده.
The Muzzin family, over many generations, spread across the countryside of Upper Egypt. Some of the poorest relatives live in the outskirts of the town Kus, where they're among the last people to preserve the great tradition of the epic ballad, which is fast dying out in Egypt. Said Dawi is a poet. He's passing on to his son the art of the gypsy epic singer. The story is of Abu Zaid, a dark gypsy hero with a special place in Arab culture. Said Dawi is one of the last remaining teachers of the ancient ballad.
البقال وللعرب بركات خطى لها القد وذلها على البركات.
Said Dawi is a poor and unknown poet, destined to remain in his village. But one member of his tribe broke with his past and went to Cairo. He became a star of stage and screen, perhaps the most popular folk entertainer in the whole Arab world. His name is Mitkyle. Young girls climb on stage just to be seen near Mitkyle.
I was born near the temple of Karnak, like the rest of my family who were poor. One day, I was told an important group of guests had come all the way from Cairo and to hear me play. Well, they heard me play and brought me to Cairo. That was my lucky day.
After taking Cairo by storm, Mikhail traveled the world. In Paris, he was signed up as a star in French porno films. On his return to Cairo, he could boast no less than 9 wives and 14 children. Despite his fame, Mikhail hasn't lost touch with other poorer gypsies. The jugglers of old Cairo are called Nakrazan. They make their living from the streets, as gypsies have for centuries since they left India. Though Mikhail and his family mix with poorer gypsies in old Cairo, there are certain places where they'd never dare to go. Behind the city railway lines is the infamous district of El Hashish. It's a ghetto of the drug dealers and criminals of Cairo. Many gypsies have to live here with their families, as they too are classed as undesirables. On certain days, gypsies, who are never usually seen outside their ghetto areas, make their way into the local markets. They've come to make money by performing the traditional arts that gypsies carried with them on their long migrations, hidden from the eyes of the law by the bustle of the market. The tattooist is one of Mikhail's brothers, continuing the gypsy trade his fathers brought from India. He's tattooing a new wife on top of the old. Customers can select the design they want from a surprising variety. Gypsies dance to the same two-sided drum and pipes that their nomadic forefathers brought from Rajasthan. The dancing girls are called khawazis, meaning invaders of the heart. They're a different tribe from the dancers we found in Luxor. They're believed to have entered Europe with invading armies from the Turkish Empire. They're belly dancing in the markets like their great-grandmothers did. Puppet shows, like Punch and Judy, were carried through the world by gypsies. They do the same in England today. Their art began in India and became a part of every society they mixed with, often mocking other people's ways of life. They're discussing the virtues of wife-beating, Egyptian style. The fortune tellers performing her traditional role of telling people what they want to hear and then charging them for it. So when magic or supernatural powers are called for, the Islamic community often turns to the gypsy. This procession in Old Cairo is leading to an exorcism. Gypsy musicians have been employed to chase the devil from an Egyptian girl who's suffering from an illness that modern medicine can't diagnose. This public parade is followed by the most secret of ceremonies. entering her home for the exorcism, the girl is ritually cleansed. A bird is sacrificed to the devil. The exorcism begins as the gypsies try to identify the devil causing the girl's illness. They do this by dressing her in costumes and playing the music of different lands. If and when she falls into trance, they will have found the nationality of the devil and can banish him. First, they try an Arabian costume. As she hasn't fallen into trance, they change the rhythm. To attract the devil by whetting his appetite, they add some live chickens. The devil still hasn't responded, so they change her costume for a Moroccan one. Next, they try a Tunisian cape. As the girl begins to react to the faster rhythms, the musicians know they've caught the devil. By now, the gypsies have performed a sort of spiritual journey through the costumes and music of the lands of their ancient migrations to and from Cairo. Outside the city, near the oasis of Fayoum, are the tribes of nomadic gypsies who still travel through Africa, taking their music with them. These are total outcasts, neither speaking the local language nor following the Islamic faith. To escape the persecution that still follows them, they travel today in the company of other nomads, following the routes of their original migrations, but disguising their identity for fear of persecution in new lands. If gypsies did in fact take a North African route towards Spain, little evidence has been found apart from a few isolated communities on the way. Some people deny there ever was such a migration. They claim that gypsies entered Spain not from Africa in the south, but from France in the north. Others think they entered from both directions. We found some of the original settlements near Granada, hidden in the hillsides of Andalusia. In the caves of Guadix, the most primitive gypsy flamenco still survives. The Andalusian gypsies definitely believe they migrated here from Egypt, and it's a common theme in their music. The earliest type of unaccompanied flamenco is very Arabic in flavor, much like the prayer chants of Islam. An ancient song of the gypsy migrations into Spain is sung by Pepe Albayzín.
Yo vengo diciendo que para darle a mi dana yo que comer.
Beneath the Moorish palace of the Alhambra in Granada lives another of Spain's gypsy communities. The caves of the Sacromonte have housed some families since the 15th century. This must be the only place in the world that gypsies have turned themselves into a tourist trade, relentlessly aimed at the pockets of foreigners. Coach trippers coming to visit the gypsies get more than they bargained for. But gypsy life is full of contradictions here, for the Sacromonte also hides the most intimate and ancient ways of gypsy living. In their cave, the Cortés family are holding a very private fiesta that will last them through the night. Flamenco is a mixture of the Moorish, the Andalusian, and the gypsy. And in a family gathering like this, it takes on a very special quality. The most Arabic of all flamenco music is the zambra. It was born in these caves. One of the greatest gypsy dancers, La Mariquilla, leads off. To the eldest son's accompaniment, all the family dance in their turn. final zambra is left to grandma. Not all Granada's gypsies live in caves, but those who left to try a new life in apartment blocks have found it hard to adapt. Many have kept their semi-nomadic lifestyle, taking their livestock with them. There was little attempt by the government to re-educate those who were rehoused. So the gypsies of Granada turned to self-help.
4 por 7, 28 y 2 que nos llevamos.
35.900.
Their classes are organized by Miguel Haggerty, a part Spanish, part Irish gypsy.
This is a very poor neighborhood, very poor part of Granada, and the class essentially is teaching these people to count, to multiply, to add, subtract, and to read and to write, things that are necessary to if not integrate ourselves completely into the Gurja, into the non-gypsy society, to at least handle ourselves with more ease. The gypsies have always been accepted as, say, a folkloric sort of thing and taken advantage of here in Andalusia. But here are the very real problems, the day-to-day problems. Not all gypsies can sing, can dance, and can play the guitar. The families are very large, and these are the main problems. Unemployment and a cultural rejection on our part and on mostly their part, I think. Little by little, things are coming out again, certain prejudices. And I think this happens whenever there's an economic crisis. You look for a scapegoat. And the gypsies, we've always been scapegoats in every society. As in all gypsy societies, the gypsy minority here in Spain has music as the very first, most important element, as a binding factor from all the gypsy cultures here. Specifically in Spain, of course, it's flamenco. This is a way of nomadic peoples preserving a tradition orally. Romany, our language, is not written, never has been written. Just now dictionaries are being compiled of it. But our music is something that does not have to be written down. It expresses all of our frustrations. It's extremely important. The single most important and obvious factor that holds all gypsies together, not only in Spain, but I think all over.
Other gypsies are working to spread an understanding of their culture throughout society. Pepe Heredia Maya is unique. He broke away from the life of the gypsy ghettos and is now a professor of the language of flamenco, lecturing at Granada University to classes of non-gypsies.
Como vehículo de expresión de multitud de sentimientos. Para mí que el cante flamenco.
For me, flamenco songs give the most detailed description of the day-to-day lives of the Andalusia gypsy people. Many think that these songs are only about politics, but in fact, they express every sort of emotion, from love to the most seemingly trivial things. Flamenco is a chronicle of the daily lives of the Andalusia gypsies.
Pepe made a film called Let Us Be Heard. It's the first attempt by a gypsy to tell his people's history.
A un pueblo no se le mata con una disposición.
The great poet García Lorca said that flamenco music originally belonged to just a few Andalucía gypsy families from the south of Spain. The very last remaining link with that great tradition of flamenco is an old lady who could truly be called the matriarch of old-style flamenco. Her name is La Perata.
Ay, que yo dinerito no tengo, niño, para entretenerte. Ay, no me llores pa' juguete. Ay, tú no me lloras a mí por juguete. Ay, no me llores por juguete. Ay, tú no me llores a mí por juguete. Es que yo hoy te voy a comprar mucho. Y antes que venga con madre.
The pain expressed in the old flamenco songs is still felt by gypsies today. Just outside Granada, the gypsy township of Virgencica was built as a temporary home for gypsies some 20 years ago, when travelling was forbidden. But the people are still there, and a new generation has grown up which still uses flamenco to describe their feelings of rejection.
Esto es un tema que tiene para nosotros yo creo que es la base principal porque es la que nos hace sobrevivir.
Our music is the very basis of our lives because it allows us to survive. Music makes us feel and forget our sorrows. For us, the rhythms of flamenco are in the bloodstream. They are deep inside us. It's our most precious tradition. Flamenco means everything to us, and I think it's the basis of every gypsy's way of life.
Some local boys have written a modern pop flamenco number about their frustration at being bottled up in the ghetto and branded as gypsies.
te amé, ya no me vas a engañar, porque me engañas con otro y no te quiero ver más, pero algún día pagarás todo el daño que me hiciste, con el fuego que me hiciste, no lo quiero ni pensar.
As music is part of the gypsy way of life, so it's travelled with them on migrations and pilgrimages. We followed the Pilgrim's Trail, which brings gypsies not just from Spain, but from all over Western Europe to the great religious festival of Sainte Marie de la Mer in the French Camargue. The service at the Catholic Church of Sainte Marie is symbolic of the gypsies' power to adapt to other people's ways of life. And it's symbolic of the unique, unchanging heart of the gypsy culture itself. Musicians from every country join together to play at the service in honor of a Christian saint. The Madonna they've come to worship is Saint Sarah, the gypsy patron saint of travel. She's known as Sarah the Egyptian because they believe she traveled here from Egypt. In the Romany language, her name's not Sarah the Egyptian, but Sarah the Black One, or Kali. Kali is the name of the Indian goddess of time. In a French church, gypsies of every nationality are worshipping an Egyptian Madonna, whom they call Kali, an Indian name. Kali, the Black Madonna, unites gypsies everywhere with their homeland in India.